Welcome back to Square Off. This morning, a contest between an insider and an outsider to run one of the largest prosecutorial agencies in the country. The Maricopa County Attorney's Office's 400 lawyers handle more than 10,000 cases a year. In recent years, though, the office has been plagued by scandal and tragedy. Joining us for a debate this morning are the candidates. Republican County Attorney Rachel Mitchell. She's a career county prosecutor who was appointed county attorney back in April after the resignation of the late Alistair Adele. The Democratic nominee is Julie Gunnigle, a former Cook County, Illinois prosecutor, Maricopa County native, who lost the 2020 election to Adele by less than 2 percentage points. And both of you, my sincere thanks for sharing your views with voters here in Maricopa County. It's a good thing for everybody to see this debate. Let's start with the ground rules for this debate. People watch Square Off and know the way we work. This will be a conversation. There are no opening or closing statements. Your answers aren't timed, but I do ask you to respect each other's time. My job is to ensure that each candidate gets a fair shake in responding to a question. I do enforce a no filibuster rule. Let's start with a question for both candidates, starting with Julie Gunnigle, and you'll both get the same question. What is the clearest difference between you and your opponent when it comes to how you would run the county attorney's office?
Sure, Bram. First, choice is on the ballot. Now that Roe v. Wade has fallen and that Arizonans are now subjected to a rule from 1864 that creates a mandatory minimum of 2 years in prison and a max of 5 for people accessing an abortion, and carries with it a little sister misdemeanor rule that criminalizes even the advertisement of contraceptives, it is so important that we have a county attorney who is committed from the outset to use her discretion to never criminalize people for their reproductive health care decisions. The clearest difference between myself and my opponent is the idea that not now, not ever, we will not use the power of the police and prosecutor's office to invade Maricopa County residents' bedrooms and private lives.
Same question for you, Rachel Mitchell. What is the clearest difference between you and Julie Gunnigle?
What is on the ballot, Bram, is the safety of our community. I'm a career prosecutor who has worked with the police throughout my 30-year career. I've spent 25 years protecting women and children, and my philosophy is that we hold people accountable who commits crimes. My opponent, on the other hand, wants to target police officers, has advocated defunding police officers, and also other things such as getting rid of cash bail. Those things are harmful to the community, and they are going to create danger for our citizens.
We'll get into the crime issue in a little bit. Julie, I want to get back to you, though. You say on your website the Maricopa County Attorney's Office is a corrupt organization. Do you believe Rachel Mitchell is corrupt and her attorneys are corrupt?
During Rachel Mitchell's 30-year career that included leadership positions in that office, we have seen absolutely unprecedented corruption. We have seen a spike in crime happening under her watch. We have seen 180 cases go unprosecuted. We have seen our protesters be charged under a fully invented gang while she was the head of the Conviction Integrity Unit. And we have seen the likes of Andrew Thomas, who was eventually disbarred for his choice to engage in political prosecutions. So yes, whether she is corrupt or not is for the voters to say, but she certainly has been there for the 30 years that this office has been historically corrupt and not said or done anything about it until it was politically expedient.
Your response?
These things that you've brought up and that Julie's brought up about Andrew Thomas and the protest cases have bothered me too, and that's why I'm running to lead this office. I did start the Prosecution Integrity Unit, and as such, I was brought in after the gang allegations were made and after those charges were filed to actually clean up that division and to review those cases. And I actually recommended the dropping of charges because I felt that they were overcharged. When I became county attorney, I fired the person who was responsible for those charges. I am committed to running an organization with integrity. I've always practiced that way. It's important to me. It's important that our community has the trust in our community or our office to receive justice.
So, respectfully, I mean, that's there's some errors in fact and truth there, because under County Attorney Mitchell's regime, she has continued the trend of political prosecutions. Just last month, we saw Glenn Robertson, who she alleged was a gang member for nothing more than wearing a jumpsuit and saying that Black Lives Matter in a case where the judge said that it was the weakest set of facts and the weakest prosecution case that they had seen in a very long time. That case ended in an acquittal when a jury found the same. No, this is just more of the same and not meaningfully different from the previous administrations.
So I just want to back up, give folks just a little background on this scandal we're talking about, because it's quite serious. It involves the county attorney's office, the Phoenix Police Department, the U.S. Department of Justice is investigating Phoenix PD as a result, made up felony charges by the county attorney's office working with PD against Black Lives Matter protesters that were later dropped. Did you have any role in those charging decisions?
I did not, and I would like to address what Ms. Gunnigle said about the Glenn Robertson case. Glenn Robertson was a gang member. He was not prosecuted because he said Black Lives Matter. He was prosecuted because he threatened the police officer with Crip action, which he has claimed to be a member of before. He was acquitted on that charge, but he has been convicted on another charge and is still pending criminal charges. So that is very different than what we're talking about with the protest cases. My role with the protest cases, because I was over the prosecution unit, was to be out of the chain of command. That is the national standard for those units. When I was brought in to review the cases involving protests that happened, I reviewed them and very quickly alerted leadership that I felt that the cases were overcharged and made recommendations consistent with that. It's important to me that people have a First Amendment right that is recognized by our office so that they can protest lawfully. That doesn't mean that they can lay hands on the police, do property damage, or steal.
Are you satisfied that in your, how many months has it been since?
4.5 months.
4.5 months as county attorney, that you've made headway in rooting out perhaps some of the prosecutors who had a role in this, or maybe just aren't doing their jobs in the way you think they should be doing them?
Absolutely. So the attorney that was responsible for charging those cases when I took office was on administrative leave. I terminated her employment. The bureau chief and division chief were already gone, and that's why I had been moved in to clean that division up, to take over for that division chief. I have also very clearly communicated to my attorneys that I expect full integrity when dealing in these cases. These cases are important. These cases affect human lives, both the accused and the victim. And I've always practiced in a way that gives them fairness and justice, and I want the office to reflect that.
Looking at your webpage, Julie, what stands out is the corruption you see, on the page, put out on the page, in the police department, in the county's attorney's office. How can you hope to work with the lawyers and police as the top prosecutor if you start from the position that they are corrupt?
Great question, Bram. So first, that has been my history and track record of holding corrupt politicians and bureaucrats accountable. In Cook County, that was literally my job, both Democrats and Republicans alike. And I'm telling you that you do not have to choose between good government and complete complicity and collusion with the police department. It's not just the law, it is good ethics that there is independence between these departments. And the fact of the matter is that in Maricopa County, our residents are still so frustrated learning about the two systems of justice that this office perpetuates. The wealthy, the powerful, the well-connected, and the police get a different standard of justice in Maricopa County. And we've seen that continue under County Attorney Mitchell, in no case more notable than Chuck Ryan, a Ducey appointee who held his wife and daughter hostage for 3 hours on a tequila-fueled bender and fired at police officers, and got a special deal from this administration.
I'm going to end this segment with your response to that. Chuck Ryan, this happened back in February. Police recommended aggravated assault charges, which are typical in this kind of case. He pointed a weapon at officers, and your office indicted him on lesser charges. I want to ask that in the context of the new policy you rolled out, I think just this past week. Would he have gotten those reduced charges under this new policy you rolled out for dealing with different kinds of crimes?
Bram, I have to be careful because that is an active case, but what I will say is this. We reviewed that case under the previous administration, and I gave my recommendation. And in fact, the unanimous recommendation by all of the senior leadership after reviewing every part of the case, body-worn cameras, police reports, et cetera, was that he should be charged with disorderly conduct. I'm not going to go beyond that. I contacted the Tempe Police Department prior to announcing those charges and actually was told by senior leadership in the department that they understood, that they felt that the aggravated assault charges were weak, and they understood the decision.
You satisfied with that?
Absolutely not. This new policy explicitly carves out the charges that she filed against Charles Ryan so that he will not serve prison. It's a two standard of justice that always will continue under County Attorney Mitchell.
Okay, we're going to have to stop there.